Good morning, everyone. My name is Yarek Yanyo. I'm the Student Learning Outcomes Coordinator from Santa Ana College, and this is our Friday SLO talk. Today, the topic of the conversation is ensuring meaningful, equitable, and manageable learning, a very timely topic. And I have a pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Bob Pacheco and Justin von Spreckelsen, who are going to be our hosts for the day. Welcome. Bob and Justin, please take it away.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you happen to be. My name is Bob Pacheco, and I'm going to kick us off. This is really going to be Justin picking up in a little bit. It's going to be an interactive session today, so be ready to, we're even going to risk breakout rooms today. The focus for today, first of all, I guess I want to get started by saying thank you, Yarek. Yarek, you and I go way back, and you have been a champion for outcomes assessment for the past 5 or 6 years, and the attendance that I see at these events and your symposium. I just wanted to give you a hat tip for keeping the movement going, certainly here on the West Coast, but I see you also on the assess listserv, whatnot. So I wanted to say thank you, but it says 2 hours. I think we're going to go about 1 hour and 15 minutes today. Justin and I will linger if people want to talk assessment and geeky things like that. We'll certainly hang around, but for active engagement in what we're going to be doing, I would say about 1 hour and 15 minutes, depending on some questions and whatnot, but I think a little over 1 hour and we'll be done for today. All right, let's begin.
That's good.
So I wanted to start off with, it's always difficult in these sessions to know where people are, the level of experience. And about 12 years ago, Fred Trapp, a researcher, and I did some examination across the country. We found colleges that identified themselves as being successful in assessment, or were found to be successful in assessment by accrediting bodies or organizations and whatnot. And we started to have conversations with them, and we identified the 5, excuse me, got me all choked up. We came up with the 5 most common reasons why people assess when the institution considers itself successful. And these 5 things are listed in the order that we discovered them in our conversations and interviews with folks. The first reason is to help faculty explore the learning process, and that is to master your craft. Colleges that identified as being most successful kept assessment at faculty creating space to master what they do, become better at what they do, in an environment to develop pedagogies or methods, techniques, to become better faculty. Second reason is the curriculum working. And in college, as opposed to K-12, faculty designed the curriculum. So there tended to be 2 questions that they use SLO information from. Is the curriculum designed correctly? And then secondarily, if it's designed correctly, are we implementing it right? The third reason that colleges stated for being successful in assessment is to inform where decision-making should be. So all of you should have program review processes at your college. And the third reason would be to examine learning findings for determining and making decisions about where technology, people, time, money should go in the action plan component of their program review, and then getting resource allocation prioritization for the learning areas that faculty found. The fourth one gets a little more interesting. Is to stimulate broader institution-wide dialogue. And what colleges identified, and what was big at the time, still big today, is Peter Senge's 5th discipline, the notion that an organization is a learner as well, components in that. And the idea of sharing and creating a space that a college is a learning organization, and that things that are learned in the psychology department can be shared with the physics department. We did some work with some colleges in Hawaii in one of the work that Fred and I did, and they studied syllabi and changes they made in syllabi that were done in an English department, informed improvements in syllabi in other areas of the college. And the last reason, and it was curious that this was always last because it's often measured as the first reason, that is to meet our pledge for academic quality. And that's accreditation, right? So the last reason that folks identified were making sure that we kept the accreditors happy. There you have the top 5 reasons. Okay, Justin. So I wanted to go over a little bit again how we look at assessment here, assessment versus grades. Grades go up and down. So here I've elected to create 4 very simple, overly simplified topics, but I just wanted to pick 4 that people would understand. And imagine a class has these 4 components, these 4 areas of where their outcomes are. And grades are evaluated individually. And here they're, in this example, they're going up and down. I always knew Zeppo would be the smartest Marx brother, and Harpo gets a C. Charlie Chaplin in the end got a B, but each of these are individual grades that folks got. The question is, in this particular matrix, is also learning outcomes assessment. And reflect for a second, in this particular grade book, how does outcomes assessment work? It actually goes across horizontally. So when you're looking at outcomes assessment, learning in the aggregate, the focus is not so much on individual scores, but folks' growth and learning as a class. And in this particular area, you look at it, come up with an aggregate average of what the scores are. And from this particular point of view, you're not looking at Groucho, Zeppo, Chico, but you're looking at the class as a whole. And here you can see, by looking at the means, oh, these could be rubric scores, you can find and identify that as a class or as a group, what was the area most focus for improvement? And that would be, in this example, simple example would be spelling, right? So that's our area. And then that becomes the focus of the 5 things we just identified in the slide before. What pedagogical things can faculty learn with respect to this spelling example? What curriculum, is it designed right? Do we need a separate course? Do we have right dedication? And again, this is an oversimplified class, but you can apply it to your own areas, which is breaking it down. What might be an area of focus? What professional development do I need to consider? What curriculum changes could happen? What resource allocations that can be made at the institution that can help close the learning gaps that you identify as a faculty emerging research scholar. Okay, next slide, Justin. So where are we today? And I'm here setting the situation here, 3 levels of analysis at a college. You got the 10,000 foot level, the 1,000-foot level, and then boots on the ground analysis. At the 10,000 foot level, outcomes assessment can inform information and progress on a mission and educational master plan. It is the connection of perhaps institutional level learning that's mapped to the mission. That's an important area. It's not an area that we're focusing on today. A second level of focus when it comes to outcomes assessment is the middle level of coordination and alignment. That's really where program review is done, where focus is not done at a college-wide impact on learning, but rather perhaps at the divisional level or program level or other mid-level of analysis, where outcomes assessment would be informing from the courses and from the program, informing decisions that a program would make with respect to growth, alignment, viability, changing of curriculum and whatnot. But our focus today is on the ground level. We're going to be giving you information that helps you as a faculty member, or if you're a department chair, or division chair, or whatever role you have in working with faculty. The focus of the improvement we're going to be working on are right at the point of student touch, right? Innovation at the point of student contact. You're going to be doing work today that helps you become, or helps fellow faculty become better in the work they do. And we have 4 classics out there. It's sort of the Mount Rushmore of books from when I was started in outcomes assessment 15, 20 years ago. The first book is, first two books are written by Pat Cross, this one with Tom D'Angelo as well. Classroom assessment techniques. If you haven't seen it, these books are getting harder and harder to find. You can find them on the Libris and whatnot. I make no money on Amazon if you go and pick them up. But classroom assessment techniques are a series of in-class prompts, activities that can be done that measure assessment of learning formatively or summatively, quick, easy, to make it manageable. And that's part of our topic. Another book from many years ago, also written by Pat Cross, Classroom Research, was the notion of faculty members as faculty scholars in their field, learning about how the best methods to teach it emerge. And this came from a movement of action research you may have heard. The findings of faculty do may not be generalizable to the universe, but the research findings they have, especially when amalgamated with all of the other things that faculty are doing, begin to show emerging techniques, trends, practices that faculty could try. The third book listed there, How Learning Works, that was written by the folks at Carnegie Mellon University, a bunch of subject matter experts came together and said, we need to write a book. We may know a lot about our discipline, but we don't necessarily know how to teach that discipline. And for those of you in college, certainly community college, how to teach the subject that you love to people who would struggle with that topic. So that book contains 7 or 8 chapters on the key things you need to know: activating prior knowledge, the role of motivation, how students develop schema in their brains. It's a very approachable ed psych approach to how to be better in the classroom. And the fourth book there is the Graphic Syllabus by the folks at Clemson University, a very detailed book on how to take the syllabus, that guidebook, it's almost a contract that you have with students at the beginning of the term, and really map out the readings, map out the tasks, map out the activities and whatnot to the grades, but also to the outcomes, and to be able at the beginning of a semester design for yourself a clear pathway of what you're going to do to make it meaningful and manageable, but also that students can see it. So those are the 4 books. And today's session that Justin's really going to be leading on is sort of a in progress or an adaptation of these great classics that help subject matter faculty become better in their classroom and in their techniques. So from this point, Justin's going to pick it up. Justin, it's all yours, brother.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, good morning. I'm excited to be with you guys this morning. One quick note, throughout COVID, I see many of you are still working remotely. I am fortunate to be back on a campus today. And so you may hear a bell once in a while in the background. We do have students on campus, which is awesome. But I'm excited. And before we get started, I kind of want to gauge our audience for a moment and kind of why did you choose to take a Friday morning? I'm guessing many of you are getting ready to start your summer breaks or getting ready to prepare for a summer session. And if you want to go ahead, and I like to use the chat. Chat is a great way for us to connect. You may see someone who has a similar purpose or a similar goal out of today's session. And it also helps me kind of guide some of my conversations as I go through today. So if you just have a simple statement, comfortable sharing, go ahead and throw that in the chat. Oh, I love that, Yark. And so what do you hope to maybe take away from today's session? Is there something you're looking for? So quick story before I get started. Learning, right? What is learning? And I want to share my own personal experience growing up in rural Nebraska. Attended small elementary, small high school, and I really struggled to find meaning in my school experiences. And it wasn't until I ended up in college in California that I was fortunate to have had a couple incredible professors. And those professors are what truly brought learning, made it meaningful and allowed me to open my mind, begin to think critically, and develop passions. It 100% changed my thinking about what teaching learning could and ultimately what teaching and learning should be. Which kind of leads to why I get the opportunity to be here with you guys today. And for the last 15 years, working as an educator, my passion has become to help schools and businesses develop engaging and meaningful learning experiences for their students. And so, quick background. I didn't get a chance to kind of learn all these, but glad to see that you're all here. Hopefully, we will be using the chat today. And so if you are interested or there's a comment or a question, throw it in the chat. I'm going to have Bob monitoring the chat, and I've got some stop points throughout the session this morning. And I will pause and give Bob a chance to throw a few out there if they connect to what we're doing. So our outcomes, our goals for today, I got two parts. The first part is I want to model what an integrated lesson could be. And when I say integrated, what I mean is this ability in our planning to be intentional, to engage our learners in deeper thinking, discussions that can integrate both course, degree, program outcomes. And so being able to identify both what your course outcomes are as well as your program outcomes and integrate them. I'm going to be kind of using a model lesson that I've done some work with in the past. It is kind of an anthropology course. We're going to be using an outcome related to cultural diffusion, and we're looking at the program outcomes of critical thinking and communication. After that, we'll have some time where I'll kind of go through my thinking process. I'll share kind of the metacognitive process that I've gone through to kind of plan and develop this lesson. And we'll go through and share some resources and tools to hopefully make this seem manageable and something you're able to apply. And so for the integrated lesson, the question I want you guys to kind of explore and consider this morning is, how are cultures influenced by historical events and cultural movements? How are cultures influenced by historical events and cultural movements? And before we get started, we're going to do a visible thinking activity, a routine, and our course outcome is to analyze how patterns of cultural diffusion are influenced by historical events and cultural movements. So I'm going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes, and we're going to do what I call a 3-2-1 bridge. And the goal here is to identify your initial thinking about this topic. Bob has went ahead and threw a Google Doc in the chat. So if you click on that, it should give you the option to make a copy of a Google Doc. The Google Doc will then allow you, once you've made a copy, to type directly onto that document. I'm going to kind of take my instructor hat off for a second and talk to you kind of as a presenter now. My thinking of why I chose this activity as the first start of the lesson, referring back to some of the things Bob mentioned, is that it activates prior knowledge. It's going to give you guys a chance to identify, are there any vocabulary? Are there any concepts? Are there any events or movements that jump to mind that you begin to think about within the concept of cultural diffusion? Identify some words, possibly 2 questions. And then this metaphor simile kind of requires that deeper level analysis and the ability to kind of make a connection, creating an analogy using is, like, or as. And so my notes for you as students today are to share your initial thoughts, ideas, and questions and understanding about the following topic. Your initial thinking is not right or wrong, right? It is what it is, right? So where are you at? It is a starting point for the work that we're going to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, give some wait time, give some think time. I'll give us about 2 minutes to kind of process through this. While you're thinking through and kind of making your initial thoughts and logging those, if you're not able to access that Google Doc and you've got a notepad or a separate notes doc open, feel free just to jot it down. I do want you to save this because we are going to be coming back to this later on in today's session, and we'll do something with it a little bit later. Again, as we begin to transition to this virtual world, I'm speaking again as faculty. Chrome is your friend, right? If we can integrate digital tools, it integrates well. I know most institutions now are Google friendly. Bob and I were talking about the amount of free devices that are now being handed out to students and the access that our students are now able to have. It's free to institutions to use. It integrates well into all the different LMS systems, Canvas and everything else. And so here again, I created this editable graphic organizer to help students organize their thinking about a specific topic. And it could be used in any course, any subject, any program area, to activate prior knowledge and to help students bridge their thinking about a deeper level concept. Now, for the purpose of today, I may go quicker than you're able to get all your notes down or your thinking down. In my course, I would probably gauge the room, do maybe a quick check-in with a few students, and kind of decide how long or how much time is needed for this type of a thinking piece. Yeah, go ahead and log on that Google document or make your own notes, because we are going to come back to them. Thank you, Yark. I would love to hear from a few volunteers. Is anybody willing to be a risk taker and put yourself out there and share either your 3 words or maybe a question that you have, or if you were able to come up with a simile or metaphor that you'd be willing to either post in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and share. I'll give us a minute or two to hear from a few of you. All right, we're not all going to share at once. I realize shifting the roles here can sometimes maybe not put us in the same comfortable situation we're used to. All right, so I'm going to transition on. We're going to talk about this idea of culture. Latin, cultus, means to care for. We're obviously familiar with some of the words like agriculture and the idea of caring for the land. So when we think about the word culture, culture, it's important to understand, is not something that we are born with. It's not biological. It is learned. We learn it over a lifetime of experiences and interactions. It can be kind of in two ways. It can be both visible. Culture can be both the materials, the toys, the clothing, the things that we see and can physically interact with. It could also be observed behaviors, norms. We oftentimes see it in the arts and music, song, dance, performances. But it can also be non-visible. It can be everything from your beliefs and your values to religion, language, values, your ideologies, all these things that are not tangible, that we can't physically see all the times. And the visible and the non-visible are obviously related and interconnected. But that idea of culture that we bring to a group of people is both visible and non-visible. Kind of a quote that summarizes that idea comes from Edward Tyler, a British 19th century anthropologist. Culture is that complex is a key word there, complex whole, right? We're talking about complex ideas, which includes knowledge, belief, art, law, morals, customs, and any other capabilities and habits that are required by members of a society. And so when we think about culture, it is always changing, right? Always changing. And so when we think about how culture changes, there's this idea of cultural diffusion. And that term diffusion is a big concept, and it overlaps across all subject areas. It's not only in our social sciences courses, it goes into other sciences and things, but it's a gradual movement or dispersion or concentration from one area to another, right? We think of like a single substance in science where it can tend to move from one area of high concentration. If you mix certain liquids together, it'll blend from high concentration to one to low concentration in the other. But this idea of cultural diffusion is the spread of these cultural trends and ideas and beliefs and values, the physical, the non-visible. and they begin to get shared from person to person, and sometimes even around the world through this idea of cultural diffusion. And so there's 3 different types of diffusion of culture that we're going to kind of explore this morning and talk about. And in this course, we've discussed these earlier in prior lectures, but to bring them back again, relocation, where a cultural trait can be moved or relocated, oftentimes because of migrations. But when people move from one location to the other, culture can be relocated. It can also go through the process of expansion. Cultural trait is diffused by is diffused from its geographic center, from one location where it's in concentration or the culture is from, and it literally begins to spread, kind of in 3 ways: contagiously, hierarchically, stimulus, or this idea of being changed or adapted. And so when we talk about expansion, not just relocation, but the expansion of culture through diffusion, it can happen contagiously. It can spread, right, through a pattern. So one way that I like to think about contagiously in our modern world is the idea of a viral video. We've all seen these videos get spread across a social media platform, how quickly 1 or 2 shares or views can just overnight become millions, right? And it just spreads contagiously. The second way that culture can diffuse through the expansion is through hierarchical, is the spread of one person of high power or respect to other levels or other groups. Think about how ideas might be shared within a business or a government structure from the top down. I like to think, unfortunately, about politics sometimes, and how when a certain message wants to be expressed, people at certain levels get that information first, and then they get to decide what information is going to be spread to the next level and then down. And so ideas can be spread that way. Also happens through Hollywood films and music, where people considered high power, high respect, have an idea that gets spread, and it happens from them, and then it spreads sometimes from urban areas out to rural areas. And that's the idea of expansion through the hierarchy. And then the last one is stimulus, where a cultural idea or trend is spread, but is often changed by those that are adopting it. And so when we're looking at that, this idea is that, like, think of the word stimulating, where one idea begins to stimulate or spark lots of other ideas, right? And it begins to adapt for their own purpose. When I was thinking about this, one way is I recently traveled down to Costa Rica pre-COVID, and I was walking through a shopping center, and there was a Burger King, and they had a bean burrito burger. And again, probably not something I would have seen here in California, but culturally it had been adapted. This fast food menu, which is very much an American cultural idea, has now spread, and it's now been adapted to then work within other cultures outside of ours. And so to kind of explore these further and to really give you the chance to analyze and really think through this idea of culture. And again, your role as the student and my role here as the facilitator is I'm going to put you guys into breakout groups, and I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes for the purpose of today's activity. But in a typical lecture classroom setting, it would probably be up to 20 to 30 minutes. And when I send you to your breakout groups, you're going to discuss this idea of cultural diffusion, cultural spreading, both through relocation, possibly expansion. And so in that group, you're going to decide someone to identify to hopefully be the note taker. And then we will have an opportunity for a few of you to share out again. Once you get in there, pick a topic from below, or if you're more comfortable with your own topic or idea, a cultural movement or a historical event. If you need to, research the topic to make some connections, right? Open up another Google Chrome tab, go through and do a little bit of research to help you make those meaningful connections. And then I'm going to have you guys log your connections. And so I'm going to have Bob go ahead and put that chat, the CD breakout chat link in there. And so again, our outcome is to idea of analyzing how patterns of cultural diffusion, which we just discussed, can be influenced by historical events or movements. I'm going to try and click on this, and hopefully it opens up. Bob, can I get a thumbs up that you see my breakout room slides?
Do.
And so in your group, you will notice when I send you to breakout rooms in just a second, your breakout room will have a number. You'll either be breakout room number 1 or breakout room number 2. And there is a slide for your group to kind of organize your thinking. And so I have decided, I have used what we call gray space on this slide deck to include my directions for you guys, as well as some things to consider while your group is having your conversation. And so once you get to your breakout room, you'll find your slide. I believe I've made 20 slides here for us. We won't be using all of them today, but you'll find your slide. Reread the directions if you need to. Look at the things to consider. Come to an agreement on what topic it is that you guys are going to discuss and make connections to, and then just log your connections and your thoughts and your thinking, your conversations. And then in about 10 minutes, we'll come back and we'll take some volunteers that are willing to share a little bit about the connections that you guys were able to make. So real quick, I want to share a little bit of the purpose and what I was able to do as the facilitator. Using that Google slide deck and using Chrome tools, one, it engages our students, but two, it allowed virtually for me to watch as your groups were working. I'm able to look through those slides and I'm able to kind of pop in and out of rooms based upon what level of conversation I'm seeing. If I see a group didn't find their slides right, obviously I didn't communicate the directions clear enough. And so I can jump in and say, hey, I've got you guys in group 5. Can you guys find the slide with the 5 in the corner? That's where I'd like you to log your thinking and your conversations. And so the integration of digital tools, conversations, discussions, the dialogue that you guys were able to have, I jumped in and out of most of the rooms, were really meaningful. And so, and again, in a classroom setting, you have to kind of decide the depth of the conversation that's needed, how much time is needed. In a classroom setting, same thing can be done, obviously a little more difficult COVID, but in groups on tables, decide how you want them to document it, right? It can still be doing in Google Slides. Have one member with their laptop open and they can log their notes. And then you still have slides that you can have presented in the classroom when it's ready for a group to share out. So we don't need to hear from everybody, but I'd love to hear, just so you guys kind of get the purpose of this, from a couple groups. Do I have a group that's just dying to kind of share a 30 to 60 second summary of the conversation you had?
You know, Justin, in our group, we had a fantastic discussion about, you know, knowingly or not, but we started talking about culture and we identified migration and really a number of very, very broad topics. I found it fascinating simply because we were able to articulate what it is that's important to us. And when we kind of like summed up the discussion, it became clear that all of us had a chance to articulate our strengths. And I think that's where the link to assessment of outcomes comes in. That you know, equity happens in the classroom. Really, we need to recognize student voices, and we just experienced that. So it was just a fascinating discussion. Thank you for making
Excellent.
it happen.
Good. Any other thoughts, either to the process we went through or specific to the conversations you guys had?
I can speak for group 2. It was very interesting because we actually chose 2 topics, migration and social media. And between kind of the backgrounds of the 4 of us in the group, it was very interesting to see how those connections were made across the different disciplines that we all represented or had a background in. And, you know, it just built upon one another. We could have kept going for a long time, I think.
I'm sure. Right. And hopefully each of you felt heard and validated and had the opportunity to, you know, share what you were bringing to that discussion.
Yes, I think, you know, we all respect each other's input and it actually found it interesting to hear what everybody had to say.
Excellent.
So I can speak for our group 8. Yep. So we kind of started, I think we were actually just trying to define what each one of the things were. And so we started a little bit at first with like the Harlem Renaissance. And then we discovered that I'm a theater professor. The other person was a dance professor. And then we had a bio bioscience person, which she felt like she was biochemist. Thank you. Thank you, Monica. I couldn't remember exactly what it was. So at first she felt like she was kind of out of the conversation. And the nice part was that we found a way to like kind of bring it together. And I was talking about how in the arts that like I did my thesis on neuroscience of our unconscious bias and how we use imagery to change a culture, to change a way people are thinking about something. And we can see it in our television programming as we change the images that we see. And so we were talking about the best way to like relate to our students and to infuse you know, a new culture into our current environment is to expose the arts, really, like the history of arts and you know, what's kind of made that culture, and we find this commonality and we find beauty in it, which makes us interested, and that kind of changes, you know, our world a little bit.
And in every one of our courses, what I like what you said is we bring our own prior experiences, right? We bring our own knowledge, our own expertise, and our students are exactly the same way, right? They have all come from vast backgrounds, and to provide a platform where they can engage. And one, I'm going to get to a little bit later in my slides, but like it builds community and trust, right? They now are willing to work together and think together. And at that point, hopefully, I mean, that's where you see the learning begin to really take off, and they're going to want to engage in future courses and lessons and lectures. So is there anybody other want to make a connection or a slide? I do want to be sensitive to our time.
I'll talk for group 3, but we didn't use a group 3 slide. We went all over the place.
That's okay.
We didn't, we really didn't connect any of this. We were talking about the Silk Road mainly, and how it opened up the world to different ideas, let's say from Europe into Asia and vice versa, that you had to take the good with the bad, so that there was disease that was brought in. There were people who were made to be nomadic because of not being willing to accept some of the new norms that were put in. So we were mainly talking about the history and not getting involved in the learning, except that you have to share and you have to be open and you have to be flexible.
Excellent.
Justin, I think Serhat wanted to get in.
Yeah, just for room 6.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, briefly, I will just say we first time is become students and get into breakout room, and we found it a little bit difficult to get everything on time and discuss, but we had a great discussion on social media.
Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up, Serhat, because these routines and these skills and tools, the earlier we can introduce them to our students, and I think you'll find going into next semester and whatnot, more of the students are going to be prepared to be able to engage in a breakout room, navigate, multitask, you know, a tab with this, and then still have the Zoom here. But I agree with you, and I apologize if I didn't set you up to be as successful as you could have been. So. All right, I'm going to move on out of time. And so let me jump back to my slide deck, my presentation deck. I would have had a timer, not really purposeful for this, but I could have used that to help keep us on, myself really on schedule, because I didn't set a timer. So I don't know how much time we spent on that. We did share out. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do again, and this is an important element of assessment that we're going to get to, is this 3-2-1 bridge is now an after. And so whether you still have that same Google Doc open that you started today's class with, or whether you have it in your notebook, I want you to now do it a second time. How has your thinking changed or evolved about this topic? What are 3 words that really stick out to you? Are there new questions that come to mind that you're curious about or that connect to what we've been discussing? And do you have a different metaphor or simile? Are you able to think differently and create an analogy related to historical events, cultural diffusion, and cultural movements?
So Justin, how much time are you going to give them?
I'm going to give them about 1 minute again, because I do see the clock is 11 o'clock and we said we were at 1:15 and I haven't got to my second half yet. So
Well, we'll keep rolling.
yeah, so this really, remember, could be this 3-2-1 bridge, activated the prior knowledge. We did an interactive discussion. I did a little bit of front loading in lecture, but this could be done digitally through the Google Doc that I shared, right? And you could collect it in Canvas. If you are fortunate to be back in a classroom, or unfortunate, depending on your perspective of it, you could have a handout, right? As the students come in the door, they get that 3-2-1 bridge. And at the end of the class, you collect it, right? And so now you've got evidence from that course, from that class, from that session, that you can then decide what the best way to use it is. And I am going to move on. I apologize if I'm not giving you a chance to fully process this. But again, the purpose of that 3-2-1 bridge is to activate prior knowledge, and then to have students be able to show you the connections and the thinking that were gained through that course session. And so next steps, assessment, right? We have the ability to measure multiple outcomes from this one class session, from this one piece of assessment. You can collect the 3-2-1 bridge graphic organizer. You could add on at the bottom, you'll notice there's a writing response, to have them really write and think about how their response is connected or shifted or changed from their initial response. And then think about how this is able to assess multiple outcomes from you. How could a rubric be used for those outcomes? And within this, this activity, we're able to do multiple. And so in this wrap up of this, how did we meet multiple course program outcomes? Well, first off, we met our course outcome, which was the topic and analyzing patterns of cultural diffusion, as well as 2 program outcomes were possible there to be measured. And so you were able to assess now on a program level outcome, as Bob talked about, that flat measurement across, where you get an aggregate of your students' abilities, of their ability to demonstrate critical thinking, abstract logically, based on both the slide decks that you got from the groups, as well as from their 3-2-1 bridge activity, right? And that's for you, you to decide which one would work best. And then again, from the groups working together, and then even in our share out, demonstrating competence in both verbal and nonverbal communication during that activity.
Justin, I wonder if we could pause for a second and hear some questions.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a thumbs up on this one to do that.
Anybody have any questions how to use one single assignment in multiple ways to be able to collect information?
I do want to share, Lisa shared her kind of a statement. I don't know if it was her analogy, but it says cultural diffusion makes me think of a snowball effect, right? Or putting that as a similar metaphor, cultural diffusion is like a snowball rolling down a mountain, right? That's a great analogy. If anybody else has an analogy they want to share, that would be great to hear.
Okay, so if I may ask a question, because this definitely is spectacular. That's really where the thinking in the spirit of those Friday talks is heading, really looking at what it is that students are learning and allowing students to reflect on that learning, that they do it together with the faculty. So what matters to us here is, I'm just so happy that you just said it, that in one activity, one assessment activity, you can actually assess more than just one outcome. Yes. It doesn't have to be just recollection of one fact or interpretation or analysis. There is really a number of things, you can attest to the facts that students are learning leadership skills, or they can obviously can think critically, or they use technology at the same time as they are focusing on the subject matter that's tested. So the question that I would have is, would you happen to have a example of a rubric that would help us assess that?
I have one. I don't have it accessible at this moment, but there's definitely one for critical thinking that could be shared. I can include it when the session gets shared. It actually comes from the Association of Community Colleges, I believe. That's a critical thinking rubric directly tied to that idea of a program outcome related to critical thinking.
And we're going to share at the end a folder that has the slide deck, the other information that has. So if you want to take these Some of you are getting near graduation, so maybe not. But if you want to try an activity like this, or to put it in your tool belt for future. And I just wanted to say, these are the kinds of things that Justin and I do when we're working with schools. Help empower me with tools, because I know my subject really well. But boy, give me some creative ways to do this. You're asking me to teach critical thinking. I'm not sure I know how to do that. Can you give me something? So Justin, why don't we'll share a couple more inside the folder afterwards that folks can use.
We can do that, yeah. And so what Yark just connected to, and he posted in the chat, those were actually the examples I was going to pull from, and those value rubrics. I was looking through those and have been doing some work with them recently. They're great to get started with and make them fit for your need. But again, remember, when we're assessing program outcomes, it's not like the same as grading, where if you had to collect a piece of work for every single kid, and you have to grade every single piece, right? It can be randomized. It can be using a randomization process. You can select 1 out of every 5 and use that to then aggregate and figure out how well critical thinking was performed during that class session. So I'm going to go ahead and move on then and share kind of the process I went through and the thinking that's behind me as an instructor putting together a lesson like this. And so thinking about being intentional with the planning, the instruction, the assessment to meet those multiple outcomes. And so questions to consider, obviously, what should be learned, both knowledge, concepts, skills. That's where we start getting into all the different outcomes across the program, across your course. Why is it important? If you're not familiar, Simon Sinek, he always talks about start with the why, right? Really ask yourself, why is this valuable? What is, when I look at these outcomes, why is it important for my students to know and understand this? How is this information applied? That's where those skill connections come in. How can I ask my students to apply that knowledge and understanding? How do individual lectures, my actual course planning, my syllabus, meet my course outcomes? So kind of taking time to reflect on that. And then how do my course outcomes, and again, every subject, every area is different, but how do they contribute to the program outcomes? The connections and the integrations that are made from your own courses to the program outcomes is not always going to be the same. And so you really have to identify how those connections are made in doing that. And then again, assessment. Is it aligned? Is it meaningful? And is it manageable? And I'm hoping that like through this discussion, you've seen how you can align them. And by doing that, it becomes meaningful and manageable. And so that intentional planning and alignment actually kind of has that result of those aspects. And so selecting your course outcomes, think of Bloom's. I mean, I know there's newer models, newer taxonomies out there, but really think about within your course outcomes, which ones require those higher level thinking in Bloom's, because those are the course outcomes that are going to be best integrated. The lower level remembrance, you're going to have your Scantron assessments, you're going to have your vocabulary and your knowledge that has to be assessed. Those lectures and courses maybe aren't going to be the ones you're looking to integrate as much. But identify within your course outcomes the ones that have that higher level thinking. When you're looking at your outcomes, do they require a deeper level of conceptual understanding? That was the reason for why I used the cultural diffusion standard, right? Or the outcome was because it does require that deeper level. Like it allowed all of you to come in with your own background knowledge, your own connections, even though you may not have felt as an expert or had felt like that was a confident objective for you going into it. But it was one that requires that deeper level understanding and conceptual understanding. And then does the content require students to apply their learning in a real world and meaningful and authentic ways? You want to look for those real world connections because again, like you guys shared, it brings in your own background into the conversation and you're able to engage in it and you begin to find it more meaningful. So when you're looking for your course outcomes of what's going to be best chosen to be integrated, take those things into consideration. As you start thinking about identifying your program outcomes, focus on what students should be able to do, right? Really look for those skills-based, what outcomes best align to the course that you've course outcome that you've chosen. So now that you've chosen your course outcome, and again, program outcomes, they're different across the board. Thank you. We'll get to Enrique. but really they're very similar across universities and across colleges, right? There's outcomes related to critical thinking, there's outcomes related to communication, global awareness, interpersonal self-management. And so when you're looking at those, which one of those areas is going to be best to align to what your course outcome that you've already selected? And then always thinking about the students that are coming in. And again, I may not have done that as well today, but like, what experience do my students have using a breakout room? Right? And what can I do to make sure I can set them up to be successful? So what experiences have the students already brought into where they're going to be coming in that day, that course, that lecture, to make sure that they can be practiced and mastered and possibly confident. Do you want to go ahead and take a question?
I think Enrique had his hand up. I don't know if that was lingering or whether it's still active.
Well, and I'm on dual
No.
monitors and I don't have everything as visible as I should be.
Thank you. Justin, I think you said it just right. By you choosing this topic, this cultural diffusion, I'm the SLO coordinator, but I don't teach. But we have multiple faculty here, mathematics, different disciplines. And this topic was right on the spot because it made me think, wait a minute, social media, all these topics, and you're talking about away from your comfort zone. If you're teaching mathematics, well, wait a minute, okay, cultural diffusion, what's going on? And so the topic was, for me, it was very interesting. But I mean, I wish I had more time. Like, wait a minute, But I think you chose the right topic for us because as faculty, we're teaching different topics, in our areas, and this is a right spot on the money because if you were the instructor and we were your students, I mean, I would be so on beat with you on, oh my God, I would have been so intrigued on what you're going to be discussing, throughout the course.
Yeah, and Enrique, I'm glad you brought that up because again, the where you choose to place this within your syllabus and within your course planning, right? It could be done early as a provocation to the entire course, but it could also be done towards the end of a course where you've spent significant time building conceptual understanding and factual knowledge and even done some skills, and then now it's allowing for those much more deeper level thinking and learning, which then allows for maybe a better assessment of some of those program outcomes.
Anybody has a question? Why don't you just unmute? We're kind of informal.
Yeah, no, it's good. Absolutely. I mean, I've got, it looks like about 4 or 5 more slides to kind of wrap it up, but I'd love to keep the conversation moving. So please jump in. So feel free to interrupt me. So then really, once I've got my course outcome and my program outcome, I believe, and there's a lot of research out there that this can be done in all courses, and transfer happens at the conceptual level. And so when you're able to think beyond the factual knowledge in our course, that's where students begin to engage, and that's where students begin to take ownership and begin to apply their learning, right? No one works or functions in an isolated set of facts and skills, right? It happens at the conceptual level. Concepts provide meaning, and allows students to transfer what they've learned to their future courses and to their future life. And so I started with a question and I kind of rushed through it, but really that question that we started with how does cultural diffusion, how is it impacted by events and movements, right? Was kind of that question I framed. If you'll notice, it was very much tied to my course outcome. But we have to identify what are our key related concepts for the course, and my outcomes and my content. So really thinking bigger than just the facts and the skills, and what are the bigger conceptual connections that allow for people to come in and make prior connections and activate that prior knowledge. So what concepts are truly at the heart of the learning that you need your kids to do? Again, the choice of cultural diffusion. And then begin to go back and look at your outcomes and integrate those action verbs, right? From Blue's taxonomy, we use the action verb of analyze. And that came directly out of the course outcome. But sometimes it's not that easy. And so you do have to sometimes then identify verbs that are then going to activate the conceptual connections of what the kids are doing. And then I like to frame that big idea for the lesson or for the lecture by creating a conceptual statement or question. And so really activating their thinking through that conceptual question, and it can be debatable or it can just be conceptual. And I have a whole bunch here of just samples across all subject areas that have been developed that are both some debatable and some conceptual, but they activate thinking and connections to what you already know. You begin to already maybe get a little of emotional to sometimes when you read those questions, right? And so what is the relationship between arts and audiences, right? That we got a little bit of an arts thing, but again, could be applied across any course, a lot of courses. You got some humanities focuses, some math. Are all events in the universe determined by probability, right? Really begin to activate and think and make connections and have some really meaningful conversations. And so those are some examples for you again when we share this. So then it's obviously, once you've identified those outcomes and framed it conceptually, really thinking about those meaningful learning opportunity like we did today. And I like to think of it as being intentional to carve out our opportunities for our students. CARV, right? Make it collaborative. Communication, peer learning, the conversations and the learning that was happening between you guys. You begin to build community. Make it active, right? Use digital tools, provide opportunities for students to investigate. Like I encouraged you, if there was a topic that you were unfamiliar with or someone else was talking about, open up a tab, start researching it, right? Take ownership of that process. And so create these opportunities for our students, make it relevant, right? Problem-based is a great way to make things relevant to our students. Provide choices. And diverse perspectives. Yeah, don't mind if students do the research online. I think it's important, man. It's the world we live in, right? Knowledge, we're not in a knowledge economy anymore. Like it's the thinking and the application that matters. And so turning them loose to activate that knowledge and find it. But make it relevant, diverse perspectives. Enrique made that connection to that. And then make it visible. Right? Create opportunities for your students' thinking and their learning to be visible in the classroom and in the work that they do. I used the visible thinking routine. Looks like I got an error there, but I use the 3-2-1 bridge. There are hundreds of tools like that out there that I use and I support people with that activate thinking, provide evidence, documentation. You're able to see what students are thinking. Concept mapping is a big one out there around assessment and concept mapping. And we could have done the same activity with a concept map. Through a cultural diffusion in the center, ask your students to create the concept map in their group. They're going to make connections to all those events. And you're going to have a great visual of what your students did and what conversations they had, and really be able to assess them on their thinking skills through that. And then just creating in general. I'll share for an example. I met a professor who loved to use cardboard and duct tape, and he could take cardboard and duct tape. He'd bring in scrap cardboard and rolls of duct tape, and he would present a concept or an idea, and then he'd put the kids and students in groups, and he'd give them 30 minutes to build a visual that represented what that was that they were discussing that day. And the amount of thinking and the amount of collaboration and the process that those students would go through to create a cardboard statue or a diorama or whatever it was, just using cardboard and duct tape, man, those kids were engaged and they're thinking, the conversations they were having, the connections they were making. And then again, you're able to visually see that. And some of that is done formatively. As you're walking around, you're keeping some notes of what you're seeing the students doing, and can even be assessing on a rubric as you're going, like especially if it's a thinking that's happening, right? Our own gathering of that data so that it can truly impact our future planning. And then obviously create the lesson. So one thing I encourage you is evaluate lectures that you already have, right? Don't start from scratch. Go through, identify the ones you have, and then what tweaks can be made? What adjustments could be made that allow for that deeper, more meaningful and equitable environment for our students to learn? Just as athletic coaches and directors, newspaper editors, we plan backwards, right? We think about the game, we think about the performance night. We heard some arts people in here. We think about the due date of a publication for a newspaper, and we plan backwards. What is it that I need to do at the end? And think about that from that individual lesson. At the end of the lesson, what do I want from them? And then begin to plan and develop your lesson backwards. Hattie and McTee have tons of research out there about the impacts of learning when we begin to plan in a backwards design model. And then provide those authentic tasks that require the students to meet both those outcomes, right? That's gonna happen now when you've put that intentional planning in. And then take time to develop the graphic organizers and the resources that are gonna be needed for that lesson. And again, it doesn't have to be one lesson or one lecture. It could be multiple. It could happen over the course of a week, right? It doesn't have to be a single experience. You could be doing something one day on a Monday, setting them up for what you need them to do on Wednesday, where you actually then are able to collect the evidence and assess. And so don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking it has to be done in a single block of time. And then most importantly, and I know someone mentioned it earlier, it makes us a little uncomfortable, but prepare to be flexible. Right? Prepare to be flexible. You're walking into now a session that you're not in full control of. It's not what you're used to doing. And so come in confident, but ready to pivot, adjust your pacing if you need to, adjust your delivery if you have to, regroup if you have to, and make those adjustments as you go. And so you kind of have to mentally prepare yourselves to be flexible in that moment. And then last, the piece, that assessment, making it manageable. Obviously, when you look for those authentic opportunities to overlap, that's where it happens. And so really look for those overlap, those true connections, focus on the outcomes, right? Think of those outcomes, look for the integration points, and then plan for that. Feedback is huge. I didn't get an opportunity to model it as well as I would have liked to today, but in those opportunities for sharing, if students are sharing their 3-2-1s, if students are sharing their discussions that they had on their slide deck, carve out time for verbal feedback during that lesson, right? Provide feedback. Even if it's feedback to one group, the other groups are hearing it, right? And so whatever it is, and be specific, right? All the research out there about the being quick, being on time, being specific, and making your feedback actionable, right, is going to directly impact. And when we're talking about program objectives, right, it's going to impact the next time another course. It might even be your own course, but it's going to impact those students and the development and the learning that they do. And so another way to make assessment manageable is really using class time to provide that honest, authentic feedback. Develop rubrics, we talked about it, but don't do it in isolation, right? Collaborate with faculty, find other people, and a program outcome, the beauty of it, it doesn't have to be somebody from your same program, or sorry, from your same course or your same department. It can be someone else that you connect with, right? And you're thinking about critical thinking or nonverbal communication. Sit down and discuss, what does that outcome look like? And what would be a low level, a meeting level, and a high level, and work together to develop that rubric, because the time you take to develop those and collaborate with other faculty, those are tools that you get to now take and use and share and apply to other courses. Because when it's assessing the program outcomes, it's not specific to your course. It's specific to student outcomes that they're applying and that they're doing beyond your course. And so work harder, or work smarter, not harder, right? Think about the best way to develop those in a way that they can be applied and used in different ways. And I mentioned it earlier, Bob talked about it. Use the aggregate, right? Don't think you have to assess, unless you're using it for grading, don't think that you have to assess every aspect of it for every single student. And I thought I had one more piece on there, and maybe it was in my notes, but not on there. But take time to reflect as well. When you're done, log your thoughts. What worked, what didn't, how could I do it differently next time? That little bit of time you spend at the end of that lecture, even do it with your students and the notes that you take. It's gonna alleviate so much time and energy in planning the next time it comes around, or the next time you try to integrate that activity into a different course. The goal would be the tools like we use today, the 3-2-1, the breakout rooms, the slide decks, those that could be applied to your next course at another time. And so really thinking through, I'm already thinking through today, what little minor tweaks could have been done to allow you guys to understand the tasks and be able to jump into them more quickly with less frustration level and those kind of things. And so take time to reflect and do that. So that is what I got. And so there's our contact for Bob and I. Love to connect, love to talk further, support with resources and whatnot. Bob, do you have anything to wrap up with?
No, Yarek, I was just going to say, folks can certainly leave. You're going to stop recording and you're going to make this available. We're also going to make available a Google folder where you can find all of the activities and access them later on, or share them with fellow faculty, do what you want to be able to do. This is the actual end of the time together, but I think Justin and I will linger and answer questions. If there are questions you have about your particular discipline, we're happy to kick around, but we want to be respectful of your time, and we appreciate how attentive you've been here on a Friday afternoon to get
Absolutely.
involved in doing this stuff. We really appreciate it. We didn't know quite how well it was going to go, so we appreciate it. So if you got to run, but if you want to hang around and ask us some questions or ways that we've worked on this and other disciplines or some other tools, we're happy to stick around. But otherwise, we say thanks.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Appreciate. And Yarek, you're doing God's work, man. Thank you for all the stuff you're doing in outcomes assessment.